To welcome all of you this evening to another program, a second program of the Winston IsraelInsight.com, a series dedicated to the memory and legacy of Emmanuel A. Winston. The program is brought to you tonight by an anonymous contributor who wanted to see another program, and our next program, by the way, will be with Dr. Mordechai Kedar, around the anniversary or yard site, depending on how you look at it, of the Oslo Accord 20 years ago. And we'll send out the exact date, so we have your names and everything like that. Emmanuel Winston, who for more than 40 years wrote articulate essays about the reality of what's going on in Israel, devoted a lot of time and energy to writing about misinformation and disinformation which came out of the PLO and those who promoted the Oslo process. We have here this evening, for introducing our eloquent speakers, a material that you can take from the website, Emmanuel A. Winston website, about Jerusalem. Also, a movie. The website is going to produce a movie, and it's looking for people who want to invest in a movie. It'll be a low-budget movie. A lot of the filming has already been done. The subject is Jerusalem is under threat. And Jerusalem is under threat. We've already filmed some of the main Muslim and Christian and Jewish religious leaders here in Jerusalem. But we also explore, and we want to expose the fact that Jerusalem is under threat. You'll also see a page about the agency that yours truly runs, the Center for Near East Policy Research, now named for my late brother, Nahum, where we're trying to do what we can to put out new material that will address the issues of the day. Tonight's subject is a very serious one, something that many people would like to deny perhaps, but it's something that has to be put on the agenda. Gail Winston, to my left, who, as many Winstons, Aisha Kyle, devoted herself not only to typing Manny's articles, but to working on them with him. And the subject that she and Professor Aryeh Eldad will address is the threat of PLO, or Palestinian state, stateism, statehood, whatever you want to call it, to the sovereignty of Jerusalem. So without further ado, let me present Gail Winston, who will introduce Aryeh Eldad. Thank you again for coming.
Welcome to all of you for coming. We have some very special people in the room, all of you. And we want to really welcome you here because we need your energy. We need your energy, your anger, your frustration, your anger at what the country's doing, at what you see in the papers in the last 2 weeks, where it seems like every day a new club falls on us. And we want you to be active in fighting this with us. We have some suggestions and ways to do it. We have information. I would say we have verbal ammunition. No, I said verbal, nothing violent, but very strong ammunition to fight what we see is happening and what I know you all see is happening, because that's why you're here. The idea of talking to the PLO, because it's still the PLO even if they call it a Palestinian Authority, and allowing them to appear to be a legitimate structure to discuss our future with is absurd. It's obscene. And it's absolutely unallowable. So we have to find a way to oppose it with strength. I hope that you can help us do that. One of the things we do is we've started a website with my husband's articles and some of mine, winstonisraelinsight.com. And if you go online and read it, it will help you formulate those ideas to put into very good letters, which some of you already do and don't need any lessons. You could give lessons. I know to whom I'm speaking. So we will help whatever it is you feel able to do. We need your help. We need your participation and your cooperation and your sponsorship of future programs and of the movie, which we want to turn into a YouTube, you know, that new thing that I'm just learning how to do. You go on and you play your little movie and people dance around and sing and tell you stuff. Well, we're going to do it in a serious way. We're going to take a movie, a 30-minute documentary, and turn it into pieces that can also go on YouTube and Facebook and all those things that the kids and your grandkids, and I venture to say a few great-grandkids know how to do. But the main thing is we cannot permit, we cannot countenance, and we cannot survive if today's force of government is able to get away with what it appears they're able to do. I'm hoping we'll have some very strong questions during the question and answer period, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty. Now I'd like to introduce my friend Aryeh Eldad, Professor Aryeh Eldad, who's the new head of Professors for a Strong Israel, and which is a very strong organization that has been around a long time, but I'm glad it's got Aryeh as its new leader, because I think it needs new vigorous leadership. And he will tell you how he sees what you're able to do with what we need to accomplish in order to survive through what the government, our Jewish government, is putting us through. It's not a pretty picture. And the whys and wherefores will come later this evening. Aryeh?
Good evening. Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here and speak in this conference dedicated to Winston. The title for the lecture was, "Is a Palestinian state a threat to Israel's sovereignty over Jerusalem?" And my duty here tonight is to mark off, delete the question mark. I know it's fashionable to use a pen and a bomb and everything. So I try to learn from everybody. I want to start with 4 quotes. One is for Masechet Megillah from the Talmud. אמר רבי יצחק, קיסרי וירושלים, אם יאמר לך אדם חרבו שתיהם, אל תאמין, ישבו שתיהן, אל תאמין, חרבה קיסרי וישבה ירושלים, חרבה ירושלים וישבה קיסרי, תאמין. Caesarea and Jerusalem are rivals. If one says to you that both are destroyed, do not believe him. If he says that both are flourishing, do not believe him. If he says that Caesarea is waste and Jerusalem is flourishing, or that Jerusalem is waste and Caesarea is flourishing, you may believe him. 2 opposite, totally contradicting entities cannot live side by side. At the time of the Talmud, that was Caesarea. Now, you may call it Ramallah, you may call it a Palestinian state, but 2 totally contradicting entities like the Jewish state of Israel and a Palestinian state cannot live side by side. And if you want a more modern saying about it. I will take one sentence from the late murdered Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin, in the only book he wrote. He said, I'll translate it freely, when the Arab leader says that a Palestinian state can be created only on the ruins of the state of Israel, better believe them. And we may even quote Prime Minister Netanyahu, says, whoever says yes to a Palestinian state says no to the state of Israel. And last and really not least, that is the greatest poet that we had in the last century, Winston Greenberg, that wrote many, many times about Jerusalem and its importance to our political existence. And he said, whoever rules Temple Mount will rule the whole land of Israel. Now, bringing all these giants to this room, I will try to analyze why is that? Why it's either them or us. It's not a side-by-side issue. I guess most of you had at least once in their life sore throat. And if you have it and have some fever and it doesn't go away after a few days, you will go to your physician. And if he is a serious physician, he will take a flashlight, he will examine your throat, he will see 2 tonsils red with white dots, and he will realize you'll have follicular tonsillitis, strep throat, and he will prescribe you some penicillin, and usually it goes away by a week or 10 days. If it doesn't, you go back to your physician and tell him it's an excellent medication, only one problem, it didn't work. So he may take another flashlight, he will re-examine your throat, he will see these 2 tonsils with their white spots, and he might think that the antibiotics that he used is not active against a specific bacteria in your throat. They are resistant to it. He might change the antibiotics. That's still reasonable. Usually it works. If it doesn't, you can change your physician. That's highly recommended. But if you are stuck with him, you go to him and say, as it's written in the Bible, no. What shall we do? He may try a 3rd antibiotic, or a 4th one, 5th one until the patient expires. Or that's too logical for me. I mean, I'm an old-fashioned physician. But the reasonable physician is expected to stop and think, what's wrong? Why doesn't it work? And the only logical answer to it would be a wrong diagnosis. Because if the physician misdiagnosed the disease, there's no chance that antibiotics will cure it. If it's not a follicular tonsillitis or infection in the throat, why an antibiotic should cure it? Now we are all sure or persuaded by the world that we are stuck here for the past 100 or 120 years in a territorial conflict with the Arabs. And the cure for a territorial conflict is division of the land. That's reasonable. We tried it. We tried it once and twice and 20 times and 30 times, and each time it ended in a worse bloodshed, worse catastrophe, a war, intifada, wave of terror. We lost 23,000 Jews in this war. Nobody knows how many Arabs were killed. And still, when we go to the physician in Washington, Dr. Indyk will take a flashlight and will prescribe division of the land. If he was a physician, we would change him 100 times. That's why the whole world is frustrated, because nobody told them the truth. This is not a territorial conflict. This is a religious war. This is clash of ideologies. Therefore, there's no chance that division of the land will cure. Now, I want to show you that a creation of a Palestinian state in Judea, Samaria, undermines the very, or every basis of the reasons for our existence here. And of course it's Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is the key to the whole issue. If some people would think that they will be able to change a little bit of land in the Negev for a little bit of land near Ma'ale Adumim or something like that, everybody understands that no Arab in the world or no Muslim in the world will buy 10 dunams of desert land in the Negev for Temple Mount. Because Jerusalem is the key, and Jerusalem is the raison d'etre of the whole thing here. And I'll speak about it. 120 years ago, nobody in the world recognized a Palestinian nation. There wasn't any. There were always, a long history, part of bigger empires, part of migrations of Bedouins, nomads, movement of a large group of people who wanted to find better chances to live, better conditions. 120 years ago, with Zionism, with the wave of Jewish immigration to Israel, more jobs were created here, and this area of the world became a magnet for immigration, not only for Jews, but for Arabs as well. And there started the friction and the bloodshed and the war between the Jewish population and the Arab population. 120 years ago, there wasn't any Palestinian people, but now there is. In historic dimensions, it was created in the front of our eyes, in our lifetime. Golda Meir, Prime Minister of Israel, said there isn't any Palestinian people. Now everybody in the world, and mostly everybody in Israel, said, okay, there is a Palestinian nation. We lost that battle of trying to say they are not a people, they are not a nation. That we lost. But try to understand how they were created, their narrative, their story, their historical, short-range historical inheritance was created through the friction with